What's going on YouTube? This your boy Hayward Haynes. It's another installment of Facts Over Feelings. Or your feelings at the door so we can get to the facts. And why do you think I showed you guys that video? I really want you to think. I'm pretty sure a lot of you got it right off the back. It wasn't really a problem for you. And because you know what we place emphasis here on in the FOS squad is the fact that you have to understand that the world is ruled by signs and symbols. And no greater example can be given about something being hidden right in plain sight than the so-called Superman. All right, and what did it detail to you? What was you able to gather from that clip? The fact that what did his father tell him? He said that, look, your cells will soak up the radiation from the sun. Their sun is much younger and much stronger. The atmosphere would make you stronger. So we already determined that these cosmic rays that are coming from the sun, mind you, that are inside of the dome, right, was giving him this power. And what he was doing was displaying and experiencing and manifesting every phase of the electromagnetic spectrum. He had the X-rays where he was seeing through people and buildings. He had the radio waves where he was hearing for long distances. Microwaves with his eyes and lasers and stuff like that. He had the gamma rays showing and displaying an incredible amount of strength. The diamond that was on his chest, okay, representing the hardest form of carbon. We've already established that you are a carbon-based being. We've already established that they have to learn that science when they get here, okay? And you see the S representing the serpent because the serpent represents the spinal column, all right? And how many and how many parts in the spinal column? 33. 33. Okay, so there you go with that. We also know that krypton is actually what? It is a element in the periodic table of elements. And you know what number the element is? 36. Okay? So a lot of times while you guys are sitting there talking about how they say that their number, we talk about carbon 666 and black people say, oh, well, why is it that, 666, the number of man supposedly, or, we actually associate that with our number because we're made of carbon. So that goes back to this idea that we're evil, right? Or we possess evil energy and we got to disassociate ourselves from that. And they showed you right there in one of their most popular films, what 3-6 they're talking about, what element they're talking about. And krypton it means what? Cryptic, it means hidden. Okay, and this is why this was hidden in plain sight, showing you. They do it all the time. I'm gonna go through numerous examples, but they do this all the time. You see, and they made you feel some type of way. They made you feel embarrassed. They ridiculed you. They chastised you when you talked about how you were connected to everything and how you were this god or you were this goddess and how you felt that there were just these supernatural abilities that you possess that you were waiting to manifest themselves, but yet the mentality that you possess was in direct conflict with the energy that you knew was waiting to bubble forth, right? To turn into a reality, to become a realization. Everything around you denies you that opportunity. Okay, so that's what we have to understand. And by the very nature, we take a look at, and we're going to take a look at even more of the symbolism. Like we said, when we look at a lot of his other movies, even if you take out the movie Avatar, you see he didn't change up his character. He showed you what he does when he bounces from dimension to dimension, taking and stealing resources. Okay? And he goes to this so-called planet where it's these indigenous individuals and they're connected to their trees. Okay? And their trees have a network. But what did you see the antagonists? What did you see them, especially the chief antagonist in the movie? I can't recall what his name is, but we already know the small, short, white guy. And he's like, oh, well, blow him up. Get him out of the way. And the general that he had employed in order to lead his army to make sure that he was able to clear the land to acquire those resources had the same mentality. And he used the phrase, I think in one occasion where they had dropped a bomb or, something, he said, and that's how you scatter the roaches. You see, and if you see how it parallels our existence in the sense that they came here to this dimension and obviously are trying to get rid of the people who have a direct relationship with the sun, a symbiotic relationship, right? that are here to be the vanguards also of this dimension in order to ensure that it maintains balance. And they disturbed that, came here and also ruined and also interfered with the relationship that we have with our trees. And just like the money that they seen that came from the trees or was under the trees or whatever in that environment, in that ecosystem that they knew that they could take advantage of, that they knew that they could, exploit. They did the same thing here in this realm. With our trees are they literally have made our trees the money itself. Okay? And we talked about the association between, and how our cousins is those who possess the chlorophyll. Because they have the same compound that is seen as the parent, or what their compounds derive from, which would be porphyrin. Porphyrin is the parent compound of hemoglobin and chlorophyll. It comes from the same family tree, brothers and sisters. That's what you need to know. Tell me when, like I said, I bring the heat. So this is not whimsical stuff any longer. I'm telling you that we related to plants. They the ones who saying they in the animal kingdom. We're not. See, I'm about to shatter all of this, bro. So, just like, look, I'm going to show you how good they are at what they do. I knew when I'm going to go back and talk about my son, because he's the one that inspired this, and even the experience of raising a child. And I remember, this is obviously before I even had my son, this movie came out. But I know y'all, I know y'all heard of a movie called Finding Nemo, right? And soon as, because, I've always been a science buff, even been, anything that I can get my hands on. I don't care what it is. I always like to learn. And I remember learning about that particular fish that they used for the movie, and I thought it being kind of odd. The only reason why it was so odd, had it been an innocent move that I think that was made, someone who just probably liked the image of the clownfish and used it and thought it might be cute, then, you can see that. But considering the fact that Hollywood has such let's just, to be frank, that they're ruled by an energy that we can see that's centered around pedophilia, that then it really becomes a very dark movie. And let me explain why. So if you know anything about the clownfish, what happens? And so for the lack of a better term, we're going to just say that if the female, something happens to the female in the family unit, right? The male will develop female organs and mate with the male, or if there's a son, if he has a son. Or a male fish, right? However you characterize it. And so that's why Nemo's father was running around trying to find him. Because remember, the female had died. It was time for him to then, once he, his son would get old enough, he would develop female organs, and his son would mate with him. I know, man. I know. We got to be up on game. This is how dark the Matrix is. Okay? You talking about people, like I said before, that made a movie about the sun, and we already know we lived in an environment. This is what you have to understand, people. When we talk about equatorial latitudes, and I really want to place emphasis on this because you have to understand this. These weathers and variations in the weather come about, especially dramatically, when you come up into higher latitudes. When you're at the equator, generally speaking, you're looking at temperatures 70 degrees or above all year around. We don't come from winter, people. We're not a winter people. We talking about all year round, we're in the sun. Why would God put you, what they call, at the center of the earth? And where you're always in the sun if the sun is so harmful? Why would the Most High do that? And they made a hero out of this man, out of this so-called European, to where the sun was his central power source. But we living in a society right now where we already know what season that they align themselves with more. Am I lying? They make songs about it. It's the most wonderful time. Come on, man. Death. Nothing grows. You see what I'm saying? You just have to be frank. This just what it is. You see, you get an opportunity like we talked about. You see even how callous these individuals are and how they love to feign ignorance. Remember how, when we showed you a clip in that documentary pertaining to the Flint water crisis, when the guy was just like, well, I just thought that maybe it would have been kept up and held up to the same standards as any other. I didn't know what was going on. You initiate the startup of a plant that ain't been in operation for 50 years, water that ain't been used in 50 years, and you just thought that it was going to be held up to the same standard as... Come on, man. This is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about, brothers and sisters. This is the stuff that, we have to get over. Everything about us, like we said, this is hidden in plain sight. That's why, I think, when we talk about just not the salt, remember we brought up the salt and the sugar, and we were talking about how those anti-clumping agents and how you're a water being and how they make sure our sodium content from the food that they put in these grocery stores is, will make sure that it has an ill effect on our health because we don't require as much sodium. It can get as low as 200 milligrams for a day. You see, but we can, generally speaking, 600, if you're concerned about it. But, we can get as low as 200. And see, why is it important that they manipulate the sodium? Because of the cerebrospinal fluid. See, one of the things that I also wanted to tell you about the brain is we have to understand that, remember how I told you that you're looking at the cerebrum, the cerebral cortex, those 4 lobes that we talked about, which would be the frontal lobe, the parietal lobes, the temporal lobes, and the occipital lobe, right? But inside you got that diencephalon, but you have to cross section or cut it in half in order to see it. And the reality of it is what you see is you see what's called the ventricular system or tunnels. There are tunnels in your brain. And in these tunnels, you have something called the choroid plexus. And the choroid plexus secretes this cerebrospinal fluid, right? And what is cerebrospinal fluid? Why do they even call it that? Why do they keep distracting you? Because cerebrospinal fluid is plasma. It just has a higher sodium and chloride content. That's what you need to know. Why are they hiding you from you? Using these other words to describe stuff. And you wonder why vampires want the plasma in the blood and zombies want the plasma in the brain. Man, I just be, man, bro. Because it's all hidden in plain sight. This becomes easy when you release what you were indoctrinated with. When you relieve yourself of being emotionally attached to all these doctrines that inevitably hold back your ability to achieve upward mobility in the idea of awareness. Or in the field of awareness, rather. This is what we have, if you just look at it, it's all there. I'm going to bring up another receipt. Because, we was talking about Flint. I'm going to show y'all something. And I'm pretty sure you probably heard of this dude. You may have. Let's go. 1976 Copyright Act for fair use, obviously for analysis, social commentary.
Granted near the Great Lakes, but Moses West knows a water crisis is quietly growing.
Everybody knows we're running out of water.
A problem the retired ranger spent the past 4 years working to eliminate.
All the water that we need it exists right here in the air.
He believed so strongly in that idea. In 2015, West invented an atmospheric water generator, or AWG.
Hold on, sorry about that. Let me go back just a little bit. Trying to make me wonder why it's so low.
It exists right here in the air.
He believed so strongly in that idea. In 2015, West invented an atmospheric water generator, or AWG, a machine that takes in air and turns it into drinking water.
We're at the place now, I think, making 50, 100, 200, 250,000, a million gallons of water at an incredibly low energy consumption. I think cheaper than groundwater by far. Cheaper than desalination.
So far, 12 of these AWGs exist. West planted them in 3 areas, including the Bahamas, Puerto Rico, and Flint, Michigan.
I need to engage with the people here, and I need to show them what this machine does, and they need to understand that it is their machine, and I am here for them.
West says his AWGs are federally approved, and the water quality is also tested by the Colorado Water Authority.
It's clean. It's good enough to drink. No bacteria or anything in it. And the reason that we go through the filtration process, so as soon as you turn it on, it starts making water.
You may be wondering how these atmospheric generators are tied to Wisconsin.
Most of West AWGs were manufactured right here in Maryland.
Now hold on, and I even got to go back.
Should be proud.
This is how I tell you how my brain works.
Everybody knows we're running out of water.
A problem the retired ranger
This is what. Look, hold on.
Water that we need exists right here in the air.
He believed so strongly in that idea.
Hold on.
In 2015, West invented an atmospheric water generator, or AWG, a machine that takes in air and turns it into drinking water.
We're at the place now, I think, making 50, 100,
Okay.
200.
Pause. Now I just recognize that. I mean, I know y'all seen it, and I really see how I say stuff don't really internalize. How you gotta watch a movie 2, 3, 4 times and all that different stuff. And I saw his name. I've even repeated his name. But isn't it ironic that this man's name is Moses? Look how the Most High. See, they like to play with their energy. Look how the Most High do it. Moses leading his people out of Egypt, splitting water. This dude named Moses, thousands of years later, come and do what? Bring his people water, showing you who the true people is. You know, making it cheaper than all of the other stuff. Because mind you, what did he say? Cheaper. The cheapest, it's the cheapest route to go. Notice how in Flint they was talking about, oh, we built this pipeline and we do all of this. This will save the residents money. 2 different outlooks. This really worked, federally approved, even cheaper than what's called desalination. Desalination, because you have to know there's less fresh water. There is like I believe 1.5% or 2% fresh water on the entire planet. The rest that you see, these oceans have a ton of salt in them. So, you know, his idea was to what? Because he wants to pump scarcity. He wants you to make it feel like, and that's what he always does, you know, and then out of the 1%, the 2%, okay, 2% fresh water. 1% of that 2% is in the ice caps. Out of the 1% left, 30% of that 1% is in the Great Lakes. You see, he wants to pump this scarcity. But what did this black man come and prove to you? Water is in the air. So what is he doing pumping you? Oh, we're running out of water. And then so what does this black man do? He said, oh, the Most High got water everywhere. Most High got water everywhere. Water is in the air. That's why a lot of times it can be raining without it being clouds in the sky. You're like, where are the clouds at? Yeah, because, you know, the European will convince you of his science. Because he has to pump scarcity. That's how you get fear. Man, should I be doing this for a living? Somebody hit me in the comment section and let me know if I should be doing this for a living. Because I don't get paid for none of that, you know, like you already told you. But, you know, I'm off into other things. My book come out, I'm telling y'all that I can't say the title, even the title so cold. I'm telling y'all know what I'm talking about. I said it one or 2 times, but I can't because, you know, people steal your ideas, man. They will. They'll steal from you. Right? And won't even give you credit. You see, I shout out everybody because I know that I'm cut a particular type of way. I know we all got something to offer, especially in times like these, right? We definitely have to step up to the plate. I do this because, you know, it's a lot on the line. You understand what I'm saying? So, you know, when we're taking a look at those things, when we have to understand we were the technology, we look at what they had hidden in plain sight. Look at the movies, you know, or not just the movies, but the cartoon series, the Avatar. Like Avatar, you know, because the people, these tribes were what? They were earthbenders, waterbenders. You had the earthbending tribe, you had the waterbending tribe, the airbending tribe, and the firebending tribe. But the Avatar, the difference between him and all those tribes is that he was capable of bending all of those. And also he contained the element called spirit. So he was the leader, he was the go-between if there was ever any dispute between any of the tribes, and or if there was ever any beings that entered our dimension. See, this is why you'll see no remnants of these great civilizations, because the people were the technology. That's why when you go to Africa, they're like, oh, where was y'all big buildings at? Your culture is a result of your relationship with the sun. We didn't have to build big buildings. We are the technology. It's interesting. Some of the things that have happened. Even when we take a look at, the assassination of what represents us, and the movies Black Panther, and the main character actually dying in real life, they say, right? And actually taking a blow, Black people felt that, even though it wasn't real in that sense. Like, the character, we felt the character die with him as well too, right? Assassinating the idea of the godlike molecule. Because what you have to know, did you know the nickname for the Black Panther is the melanated cat? Because that's what makes it black. All right, there's two types of the Black Panther is actually a general term. There's two types of, cats that represent the Black Panther, and that is the leopard over in Africa and Asia, and then you have the jaguar over in Central America. Okay, the jaguar is the bigger of the two. And it was celebrated as a god. So if you're going to celebrate a cat that has melanin as a god, why not the man and the woman that carries it too as well? That's what you need to know, brothers and sisters. It's not a game. I don't see it as a game. I see a lot of these individuals frolicking around and, on social media, and they really, really feel they're intelligent. Now, don't get me wrong, because we all possess, these, certain gifts, and we all, I think, take up the responsibility because we have to participate, right? That's like one of the examples that I had given you before, like, too, this is not a spectator sport. So you applaud these individuals for getting involved, and we have to take that same responsibility up with ourselves too as well, the temple that God had given us. That's why I always say that take up the responsibility for your vessel, right? That's like if I was to come in your house and you didn't know where your bathroom was, you would look ridiculous, right? And I would look at you like you're ridiculous because you're supposed to know. Similarly speaking, the same outlook has to happen when we are viewing our vessel for what it really is, and that is a gift. We have to have that same worldview towards our vessel. That look, it was given as a gift and we must know it, right? Know thyself and you shall know all the mysteries of the universe. That's what you need to know. And so we've seen, these individuals take advantage of us on a lot of different levels because we're ignorant of the science, right? And I hope that I've been able to elucidate some concepts and to give you guys an idea of how deep this rabbit hole really can go. And it doesn't take much for me to watch something and then, it starts clicking and things, the dots start being connected, because what was that mantra that we always say again? Is that people may have been woke long enough to see the dots, but we here at FOF Squad, including you guys now, y'all been woken up long enough to put them together. We are discovering what it is that is actually driving us, right? And that is a desire to know more, to know the truth before it's all said and done. To know the truth. Why are you hiding this stuff from us? Just like it just makes no sense. It's all a game. It's even with the identity politics and all this crap that people have to deal with, where it seems like the root of everything is confusion, and people don't know who they are anymore. And we have to just go through so much effort to know who we are. You don't have that time in life. You don't know if you're promised tomorrow. What you gonna spend time being confused for? That doesn't make any sense. And I look at, how they conditioned us to be one way so that there would be conflict. You the one who had these TV shows. You the one all through the 90s showing a man and a woman inside the house with the children. That was you doing that. Then all of a sudden you change it up, and then you say, oh, you guys, why is society not... Maybe because for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, you was pumping man and woman in the house. Then all of a sudden, you change it up. And one of the things I was thinking about, which made me really realize it was a play, and I don't know if you guys ever thought about something like this, I was thinking to myself, I said, man, this is what's so crazy to me. It's like, and I don't trip. I mean, whatever you decide to do, you decide to do. Trust me. I don't have time to get involved in, what your orientation is and what you like. I just don't have time for that. But what I will say is that, which makes it seem more and more like a game is, and we're talking about in the real world too, like, and we're talking about in numbers and mass numbers, not just one special instance, because, I don't know about everything that is taking place, but I guarantee you this wouldn't happen with regularity. And that is, if you had an individual, let's say for instance a female who desires themselves to be a male and wants to present themselves as a male, right, and wants to be respected as such and seen as such in society, and you have to acknowledge them as such, right? If they, let's say hypothetically speaking, they get into some trouble, right? And they have to go to prison. I mean, they commit a murder or something, and they got to go to prison, right? You think they're going to send them to a male prison? See, they don't really play that game, for real. You think they're going to send them to a male? Hell no. You see, that game only works out here in the Matrix. Because the ultimate thing is to have you locked up without being able to do anything anyways. When you are here, you'll play the games because the eventuality of it all is for them is to be in total control. And we see that now. It's evident. We've given you plenty of evidence, right? What I advise is brothers and sisters continue to keep training the mind. Remember to repeat to remember. A lot of the things that you think, may get boring or you're tired of doing it, take it to the next level. Take over the mind. One of the other mantras that I think is so important is what? The first one to the mind is the winner. This is your opportunity, whatever time you have, to think the thoughts that you need to think, because like we said, with that central nervous system has the ability to create the world that it desires and then impress its will upon the peripheral, what they call, a term is the peripheral nervous system, to make it a physical reality. But you really have to believe it. I'm talking about believe it. Let go. Stop. Oh, I'm gonna take that leap. But I got 1 foot back in this world, this realm. Take that leap. I'm telling you, I do. I dream like crazy. And in my dreams, I'm not even gonna go there because, like I said, you can't be there to see it, so you won't believe me. And then that's something special. Like, you could do something in reality, and it could be a lie or a truth, right? But in the dream world, there is no such thing as a lie. Have you noticed that anything can happen? If somebody came to you and was like, yeah, in my dream, I was riding a dragon, and then the dragon turned into a car. The car flipped over the cliff, and then you'd be like, oh, shit, okay. You wouldn't even think twice that wasn't real in that world. Because everything in that world is the truth. Anything can happen. But if he were to tell you that same story in this realm, probably wouldn't be your friend any longer. You have to commit it, right? We have to understand that we have to spend almost half our life in that realm. There is no getting away from it. So what is the Most High trying to tell you? I have you connected to that realm. It'd be different if human beings didn't have to sleep. They don't even know. They know, but they don't want to tell you, right? And we see that is part of the inner brain. Part of the inner brain that is developed later, right? And then the outside of the brain, which connects to the peripheral nervous system and helps you to be in this reality, is what you become more associated with. But you still ignore what's hidden right in plain sight, is the fact that inside is this other part of you that can manifest energy in a myriad of different ways, which is extraordinary. And I think that notion needs to be, or those ideas need to be entertained more than not. And we need to do as much as we possibly can in order to entertain those ideas in our children. That's why I said stop relieving the responsibility to them to educate your children, especially even the first, second, third grade. Come on, black people. We can't do ABCs, 1, 2, 3s. And I know we think that we do, but I'm talking about whole lessons. See, this is one of the reasons why the compartmentalization of the family is very dangerous. Like, you got brothers like, we ain't even gonna say his name because, I don't want people to think that I'm clout chasing, but individuals who build in these schools and stuff, and you want to take boys or you want to take girls away from the family unit, what happens? It's just like if you took somebody and took them away, and put them in the military or even military school or whatever. They're going to come back with a different mentality, and I guarantee you one thing: it's not going to run smooth with the way that the family is. And then, when people come back from all and have different experiences and have changed, the family is not jailed. But when the family is all raised as a unit and works together, think about it. This is why the family falls apart, because you don't make no money with the family. You spend more time around your coworkers and everybody else than your family members. Then you wonder why you ain't called your brother or your sister or your mom in 7 to 8 months. Imagine if you make money with your family though, like we should be. Imagine how tight the bond would be. And if the family is structured correctly, and if the family is strong, then the community is strong. Usually you find out that the community is broken down. That's because the family has been broken down. And we wonder why there's so much respect, especially for these young black men. And we talk about how these, young black men have an affinity for white women. And it was an excellent book by Frantz Fanon who talked about that, Black Skin, White Mask, where we talked about how, the system of education is responsible for that, because at a very young age, they captured the mind. See, the white woman is, and the white man, the European in totality has become very slick in terms of that regard, because then the woman that they use to rear your child in those very, beginning stages of his development or her development, they have to look at they know the differences. Your children can see that there's differences, right? And yet this woman has to rear them in a way in which they develop respect for this woman, because she is educating them. And so when the world also posts her as a sex symbol too as well, and then the black man and then the black woman as well too, because they're raised in the same system, see her as an intellectual inspiration too as well, then you have her having a God complex that we entertain just as well as we entertain the God complex for the European. So I'm telling you why you do that. I'm gonna spend my time being a black Superman. FOF squad, let's get it.